Big news! Wayfair's President's Day clearance is on now, and you can score tons of huge deals. Like Wayfair's best deals since Black Friday. Right now through February 16th, you can score up to 70% off everything home at Wayfair. Like up to 50% off mattresses with fast and easy shipping straight to your door. Plus amazing flash deals on President's Day. Shop Wayfair's President's Day clearance now through February 16th.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
Welcome to Seeing with Your Soul, a safe and sacred place to be vulnerable, to be transparent, to be authentic. I am your host, Tisha Michelle. From the deep pain and loss of my best friend Gloria, I realized she gave me the greatest gift ever, remembering my purpose in life, which is to help connect you to your authentic self, guide you to remember your purpose, and remind you that your current circumstance doesn't define who you are. Join me as we heal, align, and glow together. Hello. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Seeing with Your Soul with me, your host, Tisha Michelle. And this episode is sponsored by seeingwithyoursoul.com. Yes, I just launched a blog, right? I decided to add another extension onto the podcast and create this space to bring just a written word, right? And yes, I'm going to bring you like some blog posts, these different articles, not just from me, but from other amazing people too. So the whole idea behind this and why I even wanted to launch seeingwithyoursoul.com, because I get a lot of questions from people, and a lot of times it's the same. It's like, what about my purpose? Or what's a spirit guide? What's your angel? What do they look like? How do you connect with them? Like, how do you talk to, like your guys? Well, what if you feel like this? What does that mean? And I get a lot of those same questions, but they were also questions that I had along my journey. And when I was I'm still going through my awakening, but as I was going through it, I really didn't find a particular hub where I got all the answers from. It was going down rabbit holes and getting it from here to there to this to this. And then when I would get, find one answer in a sense, right, that resonated, made sense with me, I'd go down that hole and I'd get deeper and deeper. So now I'm like so far ahead and still confused about here and like in there in a sense. So I said, you know what? Let me create a space where I can, put out these articles, but get, information from other people who are going along on their journey, and they can be able to provide, tips and suggestions and their experience. And then you can see that you're not the only one that's, experienced that, but a space also where you can just, write in and say, hey, this is the question that I have. And then we can, create an article around it and that sort. But ultimately what the goal is to really create the Seeing with Your Soul tribe and have a community. So where anything that I do, I want you to feel safe, and I want it to be a sacred space where you can feel heard, whether we're one-on-one, we're in a group, or whatever that case is, or even just you listening to the podcast. I want you to feel, safe to be listening to this and feel safe by being honest with yourself. Like, wow, this really resonates with me. Or like, wow, that's what that's called, or other people are feeling like this, but you feel safe within yourself, and then also being safe, around other people. So I just launched it. I haven't even actually really did a launch. I've told like 3 people, hey, this is what I have, and now I'm telling you guys. So just go to seeingwithyoursoul.com. It's a blog that's up there. I have a couple of blog posts that's on there, but if you want and you feel called to, go ahead and subscribe to the newsletter. Right now I'm going to put a newsletter out, probably just for the beginning of the year. It'll probably just be once a month, and then maybe like every other week. I don't want to make a promise that I'm going to have a newsletter to you every week and just OD with that, and I can't live up to that. But the newsletter is going to be different, because the newsletter, you're going to be able to get exclusive content. And when I say exclusive content, like really things just to help you along your journey. Ultimately, everything that you need, and I'm always going to say this, is within you. It's just that sometimes we need a little bit of guidance, right? But we don't want to feel so overwhelmed with just everything that is coming through. So I wanted to be in like that basic minimum, this is this, or, here is some suggestions, or here are some ideas of, ways to, get grounded. Actually, what does grounded mean? Like, what are some of these words when you'll be in a place and it'll be like, oh, just get aligned or get grounded, or, and whatever that is, right? Just even giving you like that glossary of different terms, right? So if someone says like grounded, you understand what that even means. You're like, oh, okay, I get it. So just really creating like that content that's very meaningful and many purposeful, just to really like help you guys along on your journey. But the most important part is that there's that other way for you to communicate and ask your questions, and you can get, real authentic answers. So again, this episode is sponsored by seeingwithyoursoul.com. Yo, I be over here bugging, right? But yes, I would love for you guys to go check it out. It's very basic and simple, and you guys get to know about it first, and you're going to be with me from the beginning as I continue to build this and to, and to grow it, because I'm going to have an astrology section on there, starting with like the big, man, you know what? I ain't even going to tell you all the ideas and stuff. Just come on this journey with me, please. Thank you. All right. So in this present moment, what am I grateful for? I would probably say right now, because I've been feeling the vibes with my kids, like I'm very grateful for my children. And I've said that before, but I'm always grateful for them. But I'm grateful that they all want to spend time with me. I have 4 children from 10 to 23, and they all like their mother. They all want to talk to me or spend time with me. And my 10-year-old snuggles with me. And I was like hugging him the other day, and I was like, we're so close right now. I was like, do you think we're going to be close as you get older? He was like, I'm going to hold his ass to it. But, my oldest daughter, she calls me every day. We FaceTime each other, and she'd be like, hey, girl. But I love that they all talk to me. If they're not memorable, they'll FaceTime me. I mean, they're all their own individual people, but they love their mom, and they also like their mom. So I'm very grateful for that. I just really kind of like step back and get to see like the relationship that I have with each one of them. And I'm like, yo, they like me. Like, that's cool in that sense. But yeah, that's what I would say that in this present moment that I'm really, really grateful for. And I've just been like, very appreciative of the relationships that I have with all 4 of my children. So your turn. Unless y'all are driving, y'all already know the deal. Go ahead and close your eyes. Let's just get centered right now, right? So nice and comfy or wherever you're at, close your eyes. And I want you to take a nice deep breath, and just going to breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. And again, nice deep breath, breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. One more. A nice deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. I know that feels good. And I know for some of you, this might, as you're listening to this podcast, this might be the first time that you actually just disconnected to reconnect with yourself. And I know it feels amazing. I know it feels good. And and I've said this on the podcast before, and I say it to people all the time, this is something that is so simple, powerful, easy, quick, and free. So just disconnect to reconnect. And if you are busy, but you be like, oh, I'm so busy. Like, you're a busy person. Like, you can take a minute, to do that. You can take 2 minutes. You can take 10 minutes. Shit, you can take an hour if you really, truly, want to, however I say it's just something quick. Just take 3 nice, long, deep breaths, breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. Center yourself, reset yourself, bring yourself back to that state of just wholeness. And then proceed with life, right? So what are you guys grateful for? Like, what are y'all grateful for? You might feel like writing. You might be bursting with the energy and just so much. So you can put me on pause, grab you your notebook, and just write down the things that you're grateful for, right? Say it out loud, say it in your head, whatever. Just create that magical energy and just put out the things that you're grateful for. So I want to talk about, we're at the end of the year. And honestly, I don't even remember if I talked about this on the previous podcast before, but it's okay. If so, I can say it again. I know a lot of people are looking at their goals for 2021, and that's cool. It's something that, has been instilled into us. I just like to just suggest and just say, yes, 2021 is coming, and we all like, yo, I can't wait. However, if we don't change, nothing changes, right? So I kind of look at it like this. I used to do New Year's resolutions. I think the last time I did it was probably a good 10 years ago or maybe 8 or 9 years ago. But I stopped just doing them because I was like, it's stupid. I don't even follow through with it. So when we look at the setting like New Year's resolutions or goals and stuff, a lot of times we get caught up where we think that, oh, because it's a new year, oh, this is going to be this, is going to be that. But it's really us and it's the energy. So you can change whenever you want to change. You don't have to wait until 2021. Now, there are some things where it's like, oh, I can't wait till, 2021 because they're cutting the fees on this. That's great. So there's going to be companies and things that are going to say, as of effective January 1, 2021, we no longer do ... Or as of January 1, 2021, we will now be offering ... And that stuff is cool. That stuff is cool because those are the things that people are putting out in that sense. But the real change, especially people are like, God, I cannot wait to get past this and get into 2021. It's you. It's you, and it's the change that you, are to create within yourself right now. So as you are going into 2021, you've already shifted the energy and created the change and let the universe know that you are open to evolving and growing through changing some things, right? So if it's something that you've just been so drawn out and just tired of in 2020, well, look and see if there was a pattern. And what was that pattern? And how can you change the pattern now? Not in 2021, unless it's just something that you're seeking to do, but you cannot do it until 2021 because that's when the company or whatever it is says that. But, ultimately within is change the energy now, like switch things up, right? So instead of doing like the New Year's resolutions or setting goals for 2021, what I do, and I did share this on Instagram for those of you who vibe with me on IG, is I said, scan your life, scan the last 12 months and just look at all the things you did for the very first time. Like, what are some of those things you did for the very first time in 2020? Write those things down. Then look at it and just say, how have I grown in my personal life? Or how have I grown in my professional life? And just, what I'm saying? And write those. So that way you're creating such positive and just great energy, in there. And then you can just build from there, right? So I have my notebook here. And I'm pretty sure, because I met with my friend and we said we're going to do this yearly wherever we're at in the world. Me and my friend Wendy, we're going to meet up with each other and we're going to do our end of the year recap. So I don't know, next year we may say, look, December, we are in Bali. Like, what's up? In that space. But so, I did a little bit of that myself and I just looked at it and I said, okay, all right, I launched a TV channel. I launched 2020. That's something that I did for the very first time. I hired my first virtual assistant. Okay. Which to me, that was huge because I opened myself up to delegate, right? And then what I'm telling myself is that I now know that I no longer have to do everything on my own, right? It was my first time going to Miami and Tampa. I've never actually gone there. I've just bypassed and I'm going like this, but I've never actually to stay there. That was my first time. I wrote down about some of the amazing people that I've met in 2020, launched the blog. Hello. Created my first room on Clubhouse, so just things like that, right? Where sometimes we look at these things, we don't realize the things we've done in our life because we're not, quote, air quotes over here. We're not where we want to be in life. So we just like, oh God, I can't wait 2021 because I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Well, hold up, pause. Let's look at the year we're still in right now and just scan your life and just reflect, reflect on the things that you've done for the first time. You will be amazed when you look back at the things. And it doesn't have to be a long list. Even when I gave you the one where I said I hired my first virtual assistant, some people might not even put that on there. But when you look at yourself and if you've had a hard time delegating or I got to do everything on my own and I'm so burnt out, but no, I got to keep the control over it. Like, that's huge. You hired someone. So you said, okay, universe, I get it. I no longer have to do everything on my own, right? Maybe you admitted something to yourself for the first time, right? I remember this didn't happen this year because this was a few years ago, but I always said that not having my dad in my life never affected me. I'm like, no, it just never affected me. Then when I came to that realization, I was like, holy shit, yes, it did. Well, that was a first. That was my first time actually being honest with myself, right? Maybe you created a boundary this year, like, hello, write that shit down. Maybe you said no for the first time without ever giving a reason. Write that shit down. That's dope. That's dope, right? So when you look and you reflect on those things, and then you look and you say, okay, in my personal life, I grew, like this. In my professional life, I grew like whatever the case may be, right? It could be, something as like, in my personal life, like I allowed myself to be vulnerable and transparent to, people I don't even know. I opened myself up, and it was like the first time that I've ever done that, in that sense. Maybe this is your first time, maybe you cried in front of someone, and that was your first time ever crying in front of them, and that was so uncomfortable and so vulnerable, but yet freeing at the same time, right? So it's just looking at that. And as you're doing that, you're creating this amazing energy within you. And then what you're saying is yourself is like, okay, so now how do I want to continue building off of this energy going into a new year? And we have these years and stuff because we have to have some form of structure, right? Like sometimes illusion, a whole other topic. But then you'll say, how do I want to continue to build off of this? Because gosh, I've done a lot of things for the first time. Oh, wow, I just did one thing for the first time ever in my life, and that shit is amazing. And you want to build upon that, right? So I just wanted to give you guys that just to look at it from like a different perspective and maybe try a different, route versus just saying my goals for 2021 is to hit this, to do that. And that is all great. This could just be an extension of what you're doing. So maybe just come from like that standpoint. So I had a realization actually as I'm recording this, was probably about a couple of hours ago. I'm always sitting there thinking, I'm like, oh, I want to be rich. I want to be wealthy. I want to be a millionaire and all those things. Now, the significance with that is that I'm a powerful manifester. My whole life, I said, I do not want to be rich. I just want to be comfortable. Ding, 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 ding. Guess who's never been rich? Yeah, me, right? I had an underlining belief, a couple of beliefs. One is like, yo, rich people is whack. Like, they're just mad snooty. They're not happy. So why the hell would I want? I don't want to be snooty and I don't want to be unhappy. So I don't want to be rich. So that was something that was instilled into me through life itself. There's also that underlining of not feeling like you deserve it. It's having the scarcity mindset that I've pulled from I do believe in past lives, but I've pulled through from there. So I finally got to the point where I was like, oh my gosh. And I started to rid some of those, beliefs and remove some of those emotional blocks that were, blocking in the receiving, side of it. And I was like, yeah. Yep, universe, changed my mind. I want to experience being rich in this lifetime. What's up, right? But it was something about saying it, like the rich or like wealthy and stuff that didn't really sit too well with me. So that could be me battling still from some of those beliefs, but also it just wasn't sitting well. So you have to believe these things that you're saying, right? And you want to believe it to have the feeling. And then it hit me when I was driving and I said, I know what it is. I said, my intention is to get the money out of the way. So that way when I wake up in the morning, I can make decisions, not just in the morning, but when I wake up, I can make decisions based off of how I feel and not about money. And it was something about the way that just dropped into me. And I said, that feels good. I want to get the money out the way. I don't want to base, things off. I want to base how I feel. If I wake up in the morning and I just say, I don't feel like doing anything today. I don't feel like doing any sessions. I don't feel like doing any readings. I don't feel like doing any consulting. I don't feel like doing it. And that's okay. I don't have to. But if I need the money in that case and I'm like, oh no, I don't feel like this, but I need the money, right? I don't like that feeling. I've been there before in my life and throughout my life. I don't like that feeling. So I want to get the money out the way. So instead of me saying I want to be rich and I want to be wealthy and I need to have this, because what does rich mean and what does wealthy mean? That's a different definition to everyone. So for me, still battling those different beliefs and stuff, I had this nice realization, which is just, today is in 2020 and this happened. I was like, okay, I know what it is and I know how to say it for me and how it feels good for me to then be able to build upon that. Is my intention is to get the money out of the way. So when I wake up, I can make decisions off of how I feel, because that's what I want to do. And then I may feel that's for me. I want to make the decisions off of how I feel because my feelings are valid and I love my feelings, right? So it's looking at things from that standpoint where I personally can take it away from, this is my goal to hit this and do this and do this and it's that. All right, I want to look at everything that I've done in 2020 because I want to remind myself that I'm dope as shit and I am powerful and I can do whatever the hell I want to do. So now let's build upon that. What else there is. So I wanted to share that with you. So also what I wanted to share was this quick little story. Ain't nothing really quick with me. But anyway, back in 2000, okay, so this is sparking from the whole Bitcoin thing. You see people is getting it right now with Bitcoin, right? So the people in 2010 that was putting in $10 is, millionaire status right now because they took their chance on this imaginary money, right? Having those opportunities. So in 2015, I started my home care business in 2014. So I would take credit cards. So, Googling what to do and stuff, Square came up. So 2015, I'm taking credit cards through Square. I'm processing it through there. So I got a home care business. I got a pretty nice amount of money that's coming through on the credit cards. Well, I get this email from Square that says, just to sum it up, they're like, hey, we're getting ready to go public soon, but we wanted to reach out to just a select few of, Square customers, business customers, and we wanted to give you an opportunity to buy into it before it goes public. It was a really nice email and made me feel like hella special and shit. I didn't know what the hell they were talking about. I don't know what public means and stock and none of that stuff. So I remember saying something to my son's dad. I was like, yo, I got this email that I'm going to put $100 in. I don't know what this shit means, but I don't want to get left out because they want me and it's select. You know how people make you feel good and they say like, we're only giving this to 5 people and it's really like 500. But nah, I don't know. But it was like that. He was like, oh, word, send me the link. I'm going to put 1,000 in it. And then when I was looking into it, it said that you could only purchase one time with that link. So it wasn't like you could share it. And I see why now. It was only sent to the business, to certain people. And he was like, oh, forget that. And I was like, well, just give me the 1,000 and we just get 1,100, into there. He's like, no, forget them. It was on some little ego thing. So we just laughed it off. No big deal, whatever. So, and I never pushed him on it. So I put $100 into there and I put this money into something that I did not know what the hell it even meant. But all I knew is I had this deadline and I'm going to take it. If I'm going to give up something and I have to take a loss, I'd rather it be $100 than 1,000. Now, mind you, at the time I was beginning of my business. I could have put more than $100 in, but I didn't know what it was that I was doing. And I was that scarcity mindset, like, oh, hell no, I ain't just going to give you this and you dip. But I put the 100 in, right? So Square and at the time, because I was early before it went public, I got it for $9 a share. So now, mind you, at that time, again, I didn't know what public meant, none of that. I give them this money, go about my business. But then I start getting these emails and I start looking into it. And I said, oh, I didn't even understand the concept of stocks. Then when I looked a little more, I was like, oh, so if I buy it for this amount and then they selling it at this amount, I make the difference in between times how many shares. Oh, shit. That's pretty cool. That's what that is? All right, cool. So I buy it at $9 a share and they selling at like $11. They go public now, and I didn't even know what that meant. But now it's like, oh, so now all the other people, I wish you could see me with my hands, all those other people, the little peasants, no, I'm kidding, but all those other people get to come in now and they could buy it, but they got to buy it at $11 and I got it at $9. Like, what's up, right? I'm like, okay, I'm understanding this thing. Well, I think they got up to like $13 or something, and they thought that they were going to do a lot better than that, but they didn't. So they struggled a little bit with their only selling it a couple of dollars more than what, we got it at. So that was that. Then in like 2018, they took a hit. But when they took the hit, whatever it was at the time, it dropped below 50%. And what they say is when companies are, go public and they take a drop like that and they go under 50%, they typically don't bounce back and they just got to take the L, whatever that looks like in that world. They ended up making their way through, but they got real smart and they started dominating into the space. So any of you guys that use Cash App, well, Cash App is owned through Square. So they was like, okay, so we got it right now on the end of, you can use your credit card. You can get the Square machine, right? And you can have it in your hand. Somebody's like, oh, I want to pay with credit card, and you can swipe it through there, or they can give it to you over the phone, right? Or you can send an invoice. So they got that on lock. But then they start ending up, they say, okay, so if you're a business and you're using that, instead of you having to wait for it to go to your bank in a couple days, you can now do Square Instant for a fee. Cha-ching. Y'all follow me? So now they making money off of that. They making money off of small businesses. It's like, yo, I ain't trying to wait. That was me. I just got a sale for $200. I ain't trying to wait 3 days for it. Give me my money now. Charging that 1.5%, right? So they thinking in that concept, like people want their money now. So that's there. Then they add on Square Capital. So now they're looking at you and they see that you running, 1 year, I think it was 2016 or 17. My credit cards alone was like $249,000 for the year. Just through credit cards, right? So I'm pumping a lot through through there, but they open you up for Square Capital. So now they're like, oh, you pushing all this money out. So now we're going to give you capital. I think at one point my thing was up at like $60,000. Like if I wanted to borrow $60,000, they're going to give me the $60,000, put it into my account, and now they're going to take a percentage off of each time I run the credit card. Cool. So that's slight, right? So now they're making money from there. Then they want to get into, all right, so we got the Venmo out there and stuff. So now they add the Cash App, right? So they just keep evolving and growing, right? So they just falling in line in there. So now they're making money from Cash App. So not only are they making money from Cash App, they say, guess what? We're going to get into the Bitcoin. So now you can buy Bitcoin through Cash App, right? Now you can buy stocks through Cash App. And now they're getting ready to roll out. I don't know if it rolled out or not, but they're getting ready to start doing loans on your Cash App. I think it's like small, like $20 to $100, something like that. So you can borrow that. And then when you get your next Cash App, they taking money from there, right? So I don't even know what else they got their hands into, but they were just evolving and growing. So then they shot up. So as a couple of days ago, Square was $241 a share. I bought it at $9 a share and I put $100. So I actually had a little over like 10 point something like that in the shares. So that $100 I put in there is over $2,000. Had my son's dad not been tripping and put in that $1,000, he'd be sitting at $232K right now. He's sick. He's sick to his stomach. And I'm like, why didn't I pressure you for that? I'm like, I should have pressed him for that 1,000. Like, yo, just give me the 1,000. And I didn't, like, cause again, we're not even really thinking in that sense, right? So the reason why I wanted to share that with you is because it's something that I'm always talking about, right? We pray for things we put out to the universe, or we pray to God or whoever our higher power is, and we expect it to come one way, but it comes another way. And it comes in a way that we don't even really expect it to, right? But a lot of times I don't like to say miss, but a lot of times we curve opportunities because we don't know enough. We don't know anything about it. So we don't do it. We don't research. We don't look into it. So in that space for me, back in 2015, that was an opportunity that presented itself to me. I am very thankful that I jumped in and put $100 in. However, I do wish I would have put some more and I would have spent a little more time, but I guess baby steps for me. But that was an opportunity that presented itself to me, where that was literally an opportunity for me to be, I'm doing air quotes over here, to be rich, right? That was an opportunity for me to get the money out the way, right? If I would have put 1,000 of my own money and I had it, again, I was making a lot of money with the home care. I could have easily put that into there in that sense of 500. I'd be sitting on a nice piece amount of money in this present moment right now where I'm sitting here talking about, I just want to get the money out of the way. I could be sitting at over 200,000 that I could have pulled out 100,000 and got into the real estate game, right? But I'm not living into that regret in that sense, because I am glad that I did jump in. But I just was thinking about that and I said, how many times you curve these opportunities or these things because, well, you pray for something and then it comes in this way, but you don't think that that's the answer to your prayers, because why would that? I don't even understand anything about stocks. That's crazy. That's not that. It's being answered, but we don't know enough, or that's not my lane, or that's not something that I would, I don't know. Nobody in my family's ever did. I don't even know anybody that do anything, so I'm not going to do that. But what we are meant to do is open ourselves up for change. Right? So when we think about, certain things, right? When I bought that, I was the first person in my family to buy stock. And guess what I just did? You could be like, oh, yeah, so now you're getting money. And I say, no, I changed the conversation. I get to now talk about stocks to my family. Oh, let me break it down how it works. If you're buying a stock for $10 and they selling it for $15 now, you just made a $5 quote unquote profit times however many shares. And just like anything, what goes up must come down, in that sense. But now if you spending, if this is a store that you always spend money at and people make jokes and be like, I need stocks in it, buy the stocks in it. So that opportunity that presented itself to me, I didn't know anything about it. I knew nothing of that verbiage, but I did know that this was presented to me and I'm gonna put my little bit of money in there. And while it's sitting over, over $2,000, in that sense, I don't know where else it's going to go in that place. But I was the first one in my family. But now I get to change the conversation, right? So a lot of times we say, I don't know anything about that. I don't know enough about that. I got to research. That's just you being afraid. And that's okay. That's okay. Do that shit afraid. Or look it up. Researchers. Right now, there's so much free game out here. It's crazy. Between Google and YouTube and shit now, Clubhouse, you know what I mean? You could really start getting it, to the nitty gritty and just learning a lot of things so you can start to change the conversation in your circle or in your family, right? So we have a lot of people who talk about, generational wealth or generational curses and stuff. Well, the thing is that we're all stuck in a pattern, and we need to change the pattern up, right? Change the pattern up. So I say do something different, right? It could be something as simple as, okay, I always like to read, romance books. Okay, so go get a personal development. Or maybe only thing I read is personal development. Go get a romance book. Do something different. If you always listen to rock and roll, start listening to country. If you always listen to R&B, throw a little rap in there. Like, I don't like that rap. Throw a little bit of rap in there. Because what ends up happening is we're telling the universe, like, look, I am open to evolving and growing through change, right? Or you may put on a country song, and if you listen to this guy, I don't even like this music, but they may say something that sparks something in you. And then you're like, the light bulb goes off, the realization, and you're like, aha. If you always drive the same way from your job to your house or your house to your job, go a different route. And I know there's another route. Like, if you always set your desk up at your job a certain way, switch it up. If you have, it's okay to create that change. And it could be for something small or something big. If an opportunity gets presented to you, don't just look at it as like, yeah, I don't know nothing about that shit. Just stop for a second and think and say, it's interesting that this came to me, when it's something that I don't even do or I don't even know anything about. Just a little bit. Research. I'm not saying you got to jump into everything, but research it a little bit. You know what I mean? Just do some research into it, question, or whatever. Put a little bit of energy, see how it feels, see what this is. You really never know, but it's really just about creating that change in your life. So I have another story, and then I wanted to get to the Q&A. I had put this out through different podcasts where I asked people to send me in questions. So I pulled 3 of them for right now, and I wanted to answer those 3 questions on here. But another story. So there's a lady named Lori. I knew her for, quite a few years because our daughters cheered together. My daughter spent the night over her house, plenty of times, and traveled. We're in the cheer gyms and all that. So it's somebody that I actually know. So she owned a cleaning company. I forget how many people she had working for her, but she had a cleaning company, but she ended up taking a hit and she had to lay off some people. So she get a call from one of her bosses. When I say bosses, because it's a house that she cleaned for. And he said, hey, I want to meet up. I want to talk to you about something. So in her mind, she's like, yo, he might be getting ready to get rid of us. Can't really take this hit. I had to let these people go. The money is tight. So she goes to meet with him. So he sits down. He starts telling her about this company, about this skincare company, about direct sales. She don't know nothing about direct sales. She has a cleaning company. And she has 3 daughters, right? So he's explaining to her. So she's entertaining the conversation because he's her boss, right? And she doesn't want him to like fire her. So let me just listen to this, but whatever. I don't even know what this thing is, right? So he explains it to her and tells her about the opportunity, and you have to invest, and this is what this is. So to the presentation, probably gave her little pamphlets and all. So she's like, okay, I'll look into it, like, cool thing. Being nice because, again, you know how that goes. So she says something keeps nagging with her, like, I don't know anything about this. And she's the guy that presented it to her is this, black guy, this black ball guy. Not that matters, but if you see them and stuff, you'd be like, okay, I get it or whatever. And she's like, what does he know about skincare? What does he know for women's and skincare and stuff, right? So, that part gets into her head, and she's like, there's just something about this. Something was just nudging at her that she should try this, right? Nothing logical to back it up. Ding, 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 your intuition. So it's $500 to get into this. She doesn't have the money to do this because, she already, the business is very slow and had to lay people off. So she sits her girls down and she says, look, mommy wants to invest into this business and it's going to cost me $500. She's like, so Christmas is going to be really short, really light this year because it's just something about I want to invest in there. So some of her kids were a little bit older and stuff. They were cool. But the youngest, of course, little kids, they're like, I don't give a fuck what you want to do. Run me my toys. So she's the only one that was like, whatever. That's okay. So she says, I'm going to put this $500 into this business, into this direct sales company. And she said, I just want you to give me 12 months. And she's having this conversation with her kids because it's a family thing, right? So she said, just give me 12 months to work this and let's see where this goes, right? And I thought that was beautiful that she sat down with them. So she's selling this, she puts the $500 in it, gets her kit, and she's going and she's telling everybody. You would see see her pull up to the gym with the skincare and everything. People like, here she comes with that stuff again. And all on that. Homegirl blew it out the water. I've been in direct sales since fucking Mary Kay. For when my 23-year-old was like 2 when I was introduced to direct sales. So I understand the business and I've had some success in there too. So she knocks it out. And I've always heard stories of people on stage like, I'm making $20,000 and I went from this to that. But when you know the person, it just hits different. And I remember at one point where she's surpassed that and we were talking and she's like, yeah, I'm like $20,000. There was like $25,000 a month. And it's insane because of the lifestyle that she had, where she had to lay people off and didn't have it in there. But needless to say, anybody that came in the state of Virginia that was on that, in that business was underneath her somehow through there. Then it started expanding to other states and she has huge teams. So everybody's underneath her. So she is just getting it, right? And the product works, right? So she is just getting it. Whole life changes. Why? Because she trusted that little nudge and jumped into something that she had no idea what she was doing. But she said that there was something about it that was telling her she needed to do this. Even though she knew nothing about it at all, she took that chance. But that happens to a lot of us, but we don't know enough about it. I don't know anybody that does this. No one's in my family has done it. I don't even have any friends that's with this. So what do? We stay in the same pattern, and where we need to break that pattern up by being open to change, right? Being open to change. So it doesn't even always have to be just like a business deal that's being presented to you. It might be an outlet that's coming up to you that's a part of your healing process. It may be somebody that invites you to come to this group or something of that sort, whether it's in person or like online. But you're like, no, that's not my type of people. I like to be around people that's like this. You just never know how spirit, God, universe is answering your prayers and sending it to you, right? So it's just being open to, in that space of open to just change, right? So I wanted to just share that with you because I thought that was so beautiful from the beginning. And like, I love when Lori would tell that story. Oh, actually, I might bring her on the podcast because when she tells you and gets like into like the nitty gritty, it's so amazing and it's so beautiful. And also just to see where she's at in her life now, it's insane. And I'm like, I know her. That's what's up. Opening yourself up into there. Okay. So I want to end this with these couple of questions that were sent in, but I just pulled 3 of them on here and then I will get to the rest of them and maybe make a podcast just about the question and answer. Cause I know if one person asks that question, other people will be able to resonate and benefit with it. So one of the questions that I got was, what's the best piece of advice you received along your journey? I thought that was really interesting. I like that question because I'm like, gosh, I just got a lot of different things, but I would probably say the best piece that I've gotten so far was to make a decision and stop having one foot in and one foot out. So when that was given to me, that was when I was in, and I talked about this on an episode. I don't know which one because I don't number them, but what was said was that I was having one foot in and one foot out when I was looking to sell my business and I needed to make a decision. So now when I fast forward, what I learned from that was that whatever it is that I'm going through or any of you guys are going through, whenever you are confused and you put confusion out into the universe, you get confusion back. Right? So that's the one foot in, the one foot out versus just making a decision. Because as you make that decision and you move forward, this is where you get to work with the universe and then trust that you're going to be guided and you're going to be steered, you're going to be stopped, you're going to be curved, into that better direction for you. But if you are confused and you have one foot in and one foot out, you're going to get confusion back. It's like you're going to be so confused with something and then one person tells you this and another person tells you that, but I feel like this and I feel like that. It's because you're confused and you haven't made a decision to just make a decision. When I took and went and put both feet in and made the decision to sell it, boom, the energy just swirled through and it sold and it was just crazy. So I would probably say that was the best decision because I get to use that in so many different things about making a decision, whether it's about business, whether it's about personal, whether it's about anything, make a decision and just trust and go along the way. So that's what I would say. Make a decision. Stop having one foot in and one foot out. Rid the confusion. So the other question that I had that was sent to me was, do you believe we only have one purpose? I feel like that's really loaded. I could probably do a whole podcast around that too. So for me, I believe that a lot of us get caught up on what's my purpose. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, but I just believe that we get so caught up on like, what's my purpose, that we actually forget to live. And we're just so focused on why are we here versus actually just living and allowing things to unfold. So do I believe that I think it's really where I don't want to confuse anyone, or even if I'm confused, is just the word like purpose, right? Because I do personally feel like we have more than one purpose like in life, and I feel like they change as we evolve and as we grow. And so like I know that my purpose is to connect people to their truth. My purpose is to remind people who they are. My purpose is to provide a safe space for people to be themselves, right? So, I mean, could I put that into like one major thing that's a purpose? I mean, I guess I could, but I know that it evolves and stuff to me as we go along. But I think the most important thing to really understand is that you do have a purpose. You do have a purpose. And the more you start to live your life and not just simply exist, you start to see and feel what this purpose is or why you were put here, So I guess it's more of, instead of looking and getting caught up on like, what's my purpose, but just understand that you do have a purpose here. And the more you start to show up as yourself and you start to actually live, you're going to start walking in it, and you're going to start owning in it, and you're going to start embracing and embodying it. That's what led me. That part was when I was having my breakdown after the passing of Gloria. I said, there has to be more to life than this, because if this is it, I don't want to be here. And that was what I said on the floor in my apartment alone, bawling my eyes out. And that's when life started looking different. Spirit was like, oh, hold up, honey child. You said what? You don't want to be? Let me open your eyes. And then I just started seeing life differently. So it wasn't about it being like, well, what's my purpose? I said, it just has to be more to life. So when I walked outside, life just looked different. It looked clear. It was just like somebody just fixed the fog that was on the glasses that I don't even wear. And that's no cap, like looking at life differently. And I just started moving, and I started living, and I started being more conscious with things. And what I used to say then was, I just feel like I'm just skateboarding through life. Like that's just like how I'm feeling. And again, I didn't know what my purpose was, but I knew that in that moment, my purpose was to live. My purpose was to enjoy life. My purpose was to see it through a whole different lens, and like, holy shit. And that's when the whole self-discovery and just going down the rabbit hole and going to Egypt and spending 10 amazing days in Egypt and just learning so much more about myself and knowing that I have gifts and allowing those gifts to emerge. And I'm still here in this present moment having this conversation with you guys after I have done sessions with over 100 people. I don't even know how many, but I definitely know it's over 100 people because of my list. Whenever they register on there, their email goes in there, and I know how many of this on there. And that's after, I didn't even have a website in that sense. But after, doing all of these readings with people and sessions and VIP days and podcasts and ebooks and doing all of that stuff, my purpose and purposes here are still unfolding. Honestly, I haven't even gotten started yet, and that scares the shit out of me. So do I believe that we only have one purpose? My belief is that we have more than one purpose in life. But I encourage people to not necessarily get caught up on what's the purpose versus accepting and embracing that you do have a purpose, and it starts by living. And the more you live your life and not exist, you'll start to see how it blossoms and it unfolds for you. So I love that question when people say to me, or if I'm on like a podcast or something, and they'll say like, okay, just let everybody know who you are. It makes me really uncomfortable. And at first I thought it was just because I don't like talking about myself and but I really had to realize a part of it made me uncomfortable because I didn't want to allow those titles to define me, right? Because I know that I'm still on this journey and I'm still unfolding and I'm still discovering. So I will say to a person, well, let me tell you what I do. I'm Tisha Michelle. I'm a mom. I'm a spiritual guide. I'm a podcast, yada, 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 yada. But who I am that's still unfolding every day. That purposes are still unfolding every single day. And I'm here for it. And I love it. So I hope that helped, for the person that asked that question and didn't be like, you just confused me. So the last question that I have for this bunch was, how has parenting changed since your awakening? I love that too. So I would say that it's changed more so because I'm consciously aware of what I say. So since my awakening and just studying the subconscious mind and understanding that our subconscious mind is who we really are and our conscious mind is what we do. So the power is in our subconscious mind and where a lot of our beliefs are formed, and especially when we're children, and that's when we're so impressionable and our belief system and everything is created then. I'm very mindful of what I say, and especially with the 10-year-old kid. Because I'm like, I couldn't be creating a wound for him right now based off of what I say. And at first it used to be like, let me tiptoe. And I was like, no, it's not about tiptoeing. It's just about being articulate with what I say and then explaining certain things. So I explain a lot more to my kids. So it's really a lot of teaching that goes on, but teaching from a standpoint where they're not like, oh my gosh, mom, stop. I get it. It's really like I want you to just understand, like, when I say this is what this means. So my son, my youngest, what I used to say to him was, you always think you know everything, right? Because he does. He does think he knows everything. Yeah, his soul might be old and very wise, but bruh, you a 10-year-old, like, fall back in that case. But yeah, I would say something like, yo, you always think, no, I'm sorry, that's not what it is. That he does always think he knows it, but what I would say to him was, you always got something to say. I had to start catching myself because I might be creating a wound that silences him, right? I might be creating a wound that silences him when he doesn't speak up because he remembers his mom saying, you always got something to say, you always got something to say, in a negative way in that, right? So I'm very mindful of what it is that I'm saying, and I like to come from a teaching standpoint. So instead of telling my kids what to do, because I encourage them to be their own person, and I've always, pretty much did that, but it's just a lot more now. But I'll say something and then, I will then, explain more so why I said that, and allowing them to say that space to be like, does that resonate with you? Or how does that resonate like with you? Or I ask more, questions of them just to help them along. And also I'm so honest with them. There's sometimes I'll say to them, I'll be like, yo, I probably fucked y'all up. Like, my bad. And I've apologized for some things because there were things that I didn't know that I was just repeating, that pattern, like before in that sense. So, I mean, it's definitely changed, and I'm a lot more aware, with me working with a lot of, adults on the wounded little girl or the wounded little boy that's inside of them. I know where those things come from. And I know that I could have, created that with my children, not even realizing that. So, I like to be a lot mindful of what I say to them, and I like to teach them instead of just saying, oh, because I said so. A lot of times as a parent, when we say that, it's because we don't have an answer. We don't have an answer. So I don't like to say, oh, because I said so. Like, I don't like that in a sense, because that can encourage them to just listen to what people say and not do their own, research or investigation in that. And you just say, oh, just it's because I said, that's what I said, because I said so, because I said so. Like, I don't want to create that into there when they're going along in life, that they just take that for what it is. And it's like, no, because that's what we've done for so long, like the sheep, right? And it's just following through. And we don't even know why we do this, or we don't even know why, we say, the things that we say. We just kind of repeat things that we've heard. And my 10-year-old, the one who thinks they know everything, he's definitely like questions me a lot on stuff, and he opens me up to think a little more. And he's also opened me up to be comfortable saying, you know what? I don't know. I don't even know why we say that, and not feeling like I have to have the answer to everything. But now, having that relationship with the 10-year-old who's always questioning me on stuff, and me getting comfortable, and I'm okay. I'm a lot more comfortable saying that with other people. Like, I really don't know. I don't know. I honestly don't know. And I'm okay, with that. So yeah, so I would say that would be my answer of like how, parenting has changed, really since then. Just so much more self-aware, and just so much more consciously aware of the things that I do and how I'm interacting with them and stuff. Yeah. So those are some really good questions. I really think I should do that. You guys could probably really benefit on a podcast all around like your purpose and going probably a little bit deeper than I have before. But I'll also have some of this stuff in the blog, because remember, this episode is sponsored by seeingwithyoursoul.com. Make sure you go check it out and subscribe to the newsletter, and I'll have that first one out in January. We're going to start fresh in that sense because I got to work out a little bit more kinks over here and put that together for you guys. But yeah, so that is what I have for you guys. Like, really just, reflecting on your 2020, looking at the dope ass things that you guys have done, because I know each and every one of you have done something for the very first time in 2020. Think, and don't tell me you didn't. Just go a little bit deeper and, build off of that energy and see what more you want to create as you're moving forward. Being open to change and being open to an opportunity being presented to you. And even if you are afraid and it's something you've never done before, just spend a little bit of time to look into it and see, because that just might be the answer to the prayers that you have been putting out there. And you're like, universe doesn't listen to me. God ain't hearing me. Like, nah, they're hearing. It's just that you're not, necessarily open, right? And yeah, and doing something different, right? Going, reading a different book, listening to different music, just creating that ability to be open to change. So that is all that I have for you guys. Sending you so much love and light and magic and miracles and healing and all of that good stuff. Whatever it is that you need, I'm sending it to you. How about that? Until next time, bye guys. Thanks for tuning in to #certified. If anything resonated with you, I would love to continue the conversation. You can follow me on Instagram at @itistisha. And if you want to be a part of the #certified tribe, you can join my Facebook group by going to the search tab and putting in #certified. My website is conversationswithtisha.com. As always, have a great one on purpose. Love you.